We ready ourselves for our prayer, and we close our eyes in reverence. We each know that God is, and all there is, and acknowledge this by taking in the breath of life, a deep breath, and holding that precious and dear because it is, and releasing that breath in that same love, that same gratitude, that same wisdom, that same knowing that I know, the knowing that you know God is all there is. Unity consciousness is a given, therefore. Unity consciousness given to each of us individually, that we get to connect together where 1 + 1 is not 2, but it's 11. And that's what we're doing right here and right now, in this now moment and all now moments of this beautiful service here this morning on the 2nd day of January 2022. Who could believe it? And in this knowingness is peace and prosperity and wealth and health in every way. For self-loving self-care is right here, right now. Proof of it being we are right here, whether in the Zoom room or right here together. And each of us is ready and waiting and willing and accepting to hear what it is that is meant for each of us to be heard, whether it's in the music, whether it's to be seen, whether it's to be what Reverend Jerry Hobby, who is our very generous minister here today to head our service, is receiving in her oneness, that is our oneness, to give to us, that each of us gets to perceive and use in the best possible way, not just in the moment of now, but in all subsequent moments of now. So much to be grateful for in Adrian and being the person he is and his skills that he gives us so freely and beautifully every single week. And everybody else who contributes their part. I am so grateful inside my heart for being a member of this beautiful center, of being a part of the oneness. That is not really a part. It is the whole of the oneness. So yes, I give these words onto that law that says yes every single time. And I know that God's got this. And you and I can affirm and aver by saying, and so it is.
At Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont, we believe in spiritual living. Above all else, it is a philosophy that teaches us how to think and not what to think. We invite everyone to practice this philosophy by living in principle. We believe that God is all there is, and each person's relationship to God is a personal one. Every person, place, and thing, and all the space in between is not only an expression of God, but God itself. All love, peace, and beauty that is God exists within each person right now. Together we are all connected as one. Our faith allows us to apply this philosophy to our lives in every moment of every day. As we live in love, we see love revealed and flowing through the world around us. We act as citizens of this spiritual community at all times. This is how we think. We believe in God, we believe in ourselves, and we believe in you, because we believe in spiritual living. We are the Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont.
Everybody put your hands together for Reverend Jerry Hobby.
Are you wonderful? Wow. Boy, that sound is very, very powerful. I'm so glad to be with you this morning in this particular way. It's our second day of the month, and it is also the beginning of a new life and a new experience. So I'm glad that we have an opportunity to be in this way. And I love the fact that you are citizens to this spiritual community. And the other part of this equation is because you're citizens in this spiritual community, you are also citizens of the world. And the world is waiting for people like us. And the reason I say they're waiting for people like us is because we have something very special to share with the world. And it starts within each and every one of us. Now, I really love the fact that we have communities like this that cluster together, and we cluster together on point, on purpose, and we're cultivating something powerful within ourselves. That which we cultivate within ourselves is what we can give to the world. And the world is in need of what it is we have to share. Now, the past 2 years have been quite an experience. I mean, we've had quite a lot of stuff building up. And in that whole process of everything building up, the world has brought us to this point, this day, and it is for this moment. Each and every one of us have been prepared, because I want you to know that there is something very special within each and every one of us, regardless of what you think. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and we were preparing for an event, and I said, you are the master of this. And it's okay for you to introduce yourself that way. She said, so no, I can't do that. Oh, yes, you can. Because you are a divine expression of the infinite. The infinite dwells within you. And the reason we came together today is so that we can have, I'm going to say this, a God experience. I used to run a youth and family village. And I would meet with my team and I'd say, well, we have a couple of kids. They come in and they're not always in the best of moods. It doesn't matter. Humans are humans. Doesn't matter whether you're a little kid or whether you're an adult. You can be a little surly. Sometimes when you wake up, you know what I'm talking about. But the thing is, it's about our intention. And I want to encourage you to be bold. I want to encourage you to be infectious, and being bold and infectious means that we get to show up. We get to be an instrument where the divine fulfills itself within us, through us, and as us. And part of that process requires us to allow for spirit to express its truth, and that truth of who we are. Each and every one of you, we all bring something special to this thing we call life. And this thing that we call life supports us. So I would say to my team, we're going to have a God experience today. And I'm saying to you, we're going to have a God experience. Now, sometimes there are people, and I'm talking to everyone, there are people maybe on Zoom and they say, well, I don't know about that God thing. Well, you know what? You can change it, because God is infinite and it's a representation in everything. So maybe perhaps we're having a love experience today. Maybe, And so in that process, we get an opportunity to express that infinite wisdom, that infinite good. We get to allow the will of spirit, that divine spark, to spark itself within us. And my goal, my intention today is to support you. So when you go out into the world, because this is not just a Sunday thing, it's a way of life. This is what I believe. I truly believe that there is value in spiritual practice. My goal is to support people in integrating that spiritual practice, that divine spark within them wherever they go. They don't have to say God is all there is. We can say there is good that exists in the world. I hope I'm making sense. I hope that you're understanding what it is I have to share. So every moment is a God moment. Every moment we get an opportunity to experience a divine spark. So I want you to remember that you are extraordinary beings. I have a person that says, I love it when you say that I'm extraordinary, because it's their truth and it is your truth. You are extraordinary. We're here in this human experience, and our goal is always to continue to allow for that presence to cultivate itself and to fill itself to overflowing within us. So I want to share a special quote with you. This is one of my favorite quotes. I'm a person that loves quotes, and I collect quotes all over everywhere. As a matter of fact, I encourage my team, pull those quotes that are relevant to seed something great within you. And this is a quote. It comes from Rick Jarrow. It's full of wisdom when we talk about vision, because the reason we're here in this brand new year is to sow a seed of the vision of what is possible and what is alive, sparking within each and every one of you. Or one may even say impregnated by the living vision. The psyche and hence the daily life will organize itself around the vision. I want to say within you, if you can just stick with this about the wonder that is alive within you, because there is wonder within you. If you can stick with that and sow that seed all year long, I guarantee you that on 2023, January 2nd, 2023, you will see a shift, a change within your life. I am just so excited because I've been reflecting back over the past year, and I have reflected back on the best things that ever happened to me in 2021. And there were so many things. I've had bittersweet moments. We had the loss of a loved one unexpectedly. My stepson, that just knocked us off of our seats when we heard about his passing. It was unexpected. Yet, I want to share with you that it was for that moment that we were prepared. And the reason I'm going to say it was for that moment we have been prepared is because there was a consistency that has been in our lives. I'm going to say it's been more than 30 some years. And if we really go back from the beginning of time, and that consistency is the sowing of the seed of spirit within us, understanding it, that quest of understanding it. And it was for that moment that we were prepared, because it was what we needed to lean on right then and there. So I want to plant a seed within you. And this seed that I want to plant within you is, you know what? When life is good, boy, we are so happy. And it is that time when we can get off our guard. When I say you get off your guard, we get in a space of forgetfulness. We may get caught up into that which we are experiencing in the outer world. But I want you to know that everything starts with it within. We're going to be talking about alchemy. You know, we know about alchemy. People have heard about alchemy. You know how we take things, that energy, and transmute it, and we transmute it. They talk about transmuting it into gold. Well, I want you to know that the gold is within you. And because that gold is within you, the more that you sow the seeds within yourself, just as the seed is sown within that acorn that becomes that oak tree, or the caterpillar that becomes the butterfly. You're butterflies, you're oak trees. And spirit is alive. It continues to fulfill itself. It continues to bless itself. When I got off the freeway today, I have this thing about trees right now, just have to confess. And I like to share with you about the trees. So I saw the trees dancing in the wind, and they were just so beautiful. I want to encourage you to pay attention to nature. And the reason I want you to pay attention to nature is because you will discover that you have a connection with nature. And not only do you have a connection with nature, but that nature is born and it's growing within you. So pay attention. I have a tree every morning I wake up. And one of the first things that I do when I wake up is I meet a team of people on Zoom for morning meditations. And when we do our morning meditation, one of the things I always take them to is the tree. And we have these trees that I can look out my window at. And these trees, they just love to play with me. And they love to play with each other. They bow into each other. I want you to know, when you begin to bow into that inner spirit within you, that it will bow back to you. And I'm going to let you know that it's going to open doors that you never knew existed. When you come into contact with something that appears to be challenging, that appears to be hard. And I'm going to tell you something about that hard thing. If you will bow into it, and you bow into it from that place where you're courting that divine spark. That's what Ernest Holmes was talking about when he was talking about love and law. Do you know what I'm talking about? And when he was talking about love and law, he was saying that if you bow into the law will guide and direct you. It will create openings for you. I'm talking about that universal law. And for those that say, well, I don't get it. Some may say, well, you know, they talk about this thing, the lordly presence. We're talking about law again. Okay? We need to, is the story of you and the story of your life. Why you are here and why your presence makes a difference. So there is wonder in you. Now, over the past couple of years, many of us may be looking at life with a different lens. And we may feel as if maybe perhaps we've taken a lot of things for granted. I know for myself, there are some things I said, well, I didn't realize that I was taking these things for granted. It is a great awakening. But in this great awakening, we get an opportunity to look for the wonder in everyday life, just like those trees. I just love those trees. I sit with those trees a lot. What is it that I need to do? I have this event coming up, or I'm going to be working with this person on this, or this is what I'm hearing about the things that are happening in the world. And we hear a lot about stuff that's happening in the world. But you know what? I remember the story about the person that said, it ain't so. You ever heard that story about it ain't so? And we get to remember that regardless of what people say. So let me give you an example of it ain't so. When people say life is hard, it ain't so. It ain't so. And the reason I say that is because when we refresh, when we go back to spiritual principle, what we get an opportunity to know is that life is about the work. We go back to love and law of the heart. Okay? So I want to tell you the story about yourself, about how you were created. I'm not going to tell you the way the Bible tells you, but I'm going to tell you about what I know about creation and about science. When you developed in the womb, the first part of your development was your heart. It was the heart. And that heart began to grow. And because of that heart and the beat, we might even think about the Fibonacci code. Maybe perhaps the heart is linked to that beat. And it began to beat and beat and beat, and it created. And it created. And it created. It continued to create even before you could get a nervous system. That heart, which is an interdependent organ, it works independently. And it works in concert with every cell of your being. It just continued to create and it sustained the system until you could develop your nervous system. And in that creation, you came to being. But I want you to know that is a replica about you and your life, and it applies in every area of your life. So whenever it seems that you're coming to a door where there seems to be a blockage, or it appears that life is hard. See, I love that. I'm working with that muscle memory, and it's working. I want you to know my muscle memory is working because I said heart. Because the heart is at work. And that's the most important part. So part of this is releasing and letting go of the things that no longer serve us, and that outward position that life is hard. We will have encounters. We will have experiences where it seems that life is hard. But I want you to know that there is an opportunity there. The opportunity is the opportunity to move into a place of the wonder. And that wonder begins in the heart. And when that wonder begins into the heart, then we get a chance to see the beauty of life. And part of that beauty of life is remembering that we are students, we are children of this wonderful presence. That means that being a child or a student is we're an offspring. That spirit continues to impregnate itself, as Rick Jarrell says, within us, within the psyche, and that something powerful can grow within us. It's always growing. It may not be growing the way we want it to grow, but today is a day of refresh. 2022 is a day of refresh. I want you to hear this because you may end up in the middle of the year, and I want you to remember that it is a day of what? Refresh. And we go back to what we know to be true about life. And when we go back to what we know to be true about life, life will yield itself in a very powerful way. More and more good, more and more God will show up as your experience. Now, there is a responsibility, and that responsibility is to carry it forth, not just individually. We cannot make this one of those best kept secrets that we keep to ourselves. I want you to hear this part here. We get to share this truth with the world, because right now, a lot of people may say, boy, I don't know what's going on. We're hearing all of this stuff about what's wrong with the world. But we as a collective can be a tipping point in the world where we can support more growth. We can support that revelation of truth. We get to be a place in a space where we are receptive and we are open to a world that works for everyone. The reason people are angry, the reason people are sad, the reason people are moving through a lot of stuff is they have bought into the belief that the world is against them. And it is not against them. Our job is to continue to cultivate the truth within ourselves and to be infectious about what we know. You know what happens when a person comes into a space where all of that energy is distorted, it's chaotic and everything? And if we can just live in that space and we can just be in the space and say, I know the truth. And if we can just get the ego out of the way. I love the fact that Corliss was talking about that ego, releasing the ego, edging God out, because that's what the ego does. And a lot of people have a memory muscle. Their memory muscle is focused on edging God out because they have lost the sense of hope. But when we apply faith and we apply hope together, I want you to hear that, hope and faith together. What we can do is we can create a space for love to open up the gateway for divine wisdom where people can be uplifted and inspired. And it can show up in a practical way. The most important part of this is spiritual practice. So I'm going to refer you to something in the Science of Mind text. It is the law of attraction. And in the beginning, Ernest Holmes tells us about people being in mystery schools. Doesn't that sound wonderful, being in this mystery school? Yeah. But you know what? Harry Potter exists here within these teachings. And not only does Harry Potter exist here within these teachings, but he gives you the secret in terms of how to handle this, because we're in one of those secret mystery rooms right now. And every time we come together, I want you to remember this. Every time we come together, whether it is a book study, whether we're meditating, whether we're going to this workshop, that's part of the mystery school. Okay? Ernest Holmes says, but when you run up against something that is contrary to what you're experiencing, the way they would do things in the mystery school back in the day is they would teach the students. And I want you to remember this. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this or if you remember it. He says, you just take your hands and you hug yourself. Hug yourselves right now. And when you're hugging yourself, he says, what they would do is they would say, wonderful, wonderful me. Let's say that. Wonderful, wonderful me. Wonderful, wonderful me. We apply that. So the key is this week, something's going to happen. I guarantee you something's going to happen. And when it happens, you're like, oh my God, how do I deal with this? Take a break. Take a pause, and you go, wonderful, wonderful me. You know what? You may wake up and you're like, oh, Lord, do I need to get up and deal with this? You know what I'm talking about? Go to the mirror. Look at yourself. I learned this a long time ago. I used to be in speech and debate, and they would tell me, go to the mirror and practice. And so I would go to the mirror and practice. I learned how to get the bugs out. And this is what you do in the morning. You get up and you get the bugs out. You go and you just go look at yourself. You say, wonderful, wonderful me. You don't look at, oh my God, that hair is sticking up right here. You don't look at that. You could always, we could do that. See, look at me. I'm just doing it right now. Okay? We take care of that. But we continue to, wonderful, wonderful me. Now, I want to ask you a question. When you have an important meeting, perhaps it's an interview, or maybe perhaps, I know this community right now is looking for that perfect spiritual leader. And I've had conversations with many of you. Your perfect spiritual leader is already here. Your perfect spiritual leader is on its way. And trust me, it's true. It's true. You're going to be amazed at who that spiritual leader is, okay? But when that spiritual leader shows up, it's going to be wonderful. But when you're moving through that process, taking a moment, pausing, and getting prepared for your meeting, your encounter with all the wonderful people you're going to meet. There's truth from Dr. Seuss when he says all the places you'll go. Okay? Take a pause and allow the presence. Lean like the tree leans into the other tree. Lean into that experience and allow spirit to guide, order, and direct your staffs. Listen. Allow for the right questions, the right conversations to show up and fulfill itself through you. I'm saying this in that endeavor. I'm also saying that about your life personally and the collective that you are part of. We have many collectives. We're part of the world. Many of us are teachers. Many of us work as civil servants. We just show up in the world in rich and powerful way. We're part of clubs and we're doing great work. We're great philanthropists, you know. One thing we learn here in the spirit of giving is we give, we give, we give. And because we give, more comes back to us. These are spiritual principles. And we get a chance to experience it again and again and again. But if we lift our hearts a little bit more, and if we apply this a little bit more as a collective, boy, we're going to move mountains. We're going to make shifts in the world, and we're going to create more good. We'll experience more wonder. We'll be able to see things that maybe perhaps our predecessors never saw. We'll experience things that our predecessor never saw or experienced. For example, Ernest Holmes doesn't know anything about cell phones. If he were to come back right now, he wouldn't know anything about a cell phone. He'd say, what are you talking about? But it's a demonstration of what he put in place, because he says we believe in consciousness ever and ever expanding. That's the good that is unfolding and expressing itself. And that's the good that is alive within you right now. So we have opportunities to become transformed. We have opportunities to express and to create a space of a world that works for everyone. I'm going to close and remind you about the power of that. And as I close, I'm going to close with some quotes from Desmond Tutu. And the reason I want to close with quotes, he just recently made his transitions, but I tell you, that man has been a power force. And I want you to know something. You are a power force. And the great part about Desmond's life, if you really look at his life, he connected with powerful lights like Nelson Mandela and a whole bunch of other people. They work together as a collective. We, Centers for Spiritual Living, are working together as a collective. As a new thought movement, we're working together as a collective. As people of spirit, of love, of God, of humanity, we are working together as a collective. So I wanted to lean into his wisdom. You know, that's one of those big trees. And I wanted to share a couple of things with you as I close. And these are some quotes that came from him. He says, we are made for goodness. We are made for love. We're made for friendliness. We are made for togetherness. We are made for all the beautiful things that you and I know. We are made to tell the world that there is no outsiders. All are welcome. Black, white, red, yellow, rich, poor, educated, and not educated. Male, female, straight, all. We all belong to this family, this human family, God's family. And he says, there comes a point where we need to stop just pulling people out of the river. We've been doing a lot of rescuing. He says this, we need to go upstream. We need to go upstream and find out why they are falling in. This is where we make the adjustment. And it starts first within ourselves. Go upstream, find out where we're falling in, make that correction. And once we make that correction, we're able to go back and we're able to support others. He says, your ordinary acts of love and hope point to the extraordinary promise that every human being or every human life is of inestimable value. We are all valuable. And he says, dear child of God, I'm so sorry that suffering is not an option. As we move into 2022, we remember that suffering is not an option. I'm just going to paraphrase Ernest Holmes. It's one of my favorite quotes. He says, I will make a promise to myself that I will never ever tell myself stories that are not true, that I'm poor, that I'm not smart, I'm not all of these things here. But I am going to breathe within my spirit the good of who I am and what I am for the rest of my life. I'm inviting you to do the same thing as we move into this new year. I want you to continue to stay engaged. Stay engaged in this community. And as you're breathing right now, I'm inviting you to imagine, just imagine, the breath flowing through your heart and cleansing the chambers of your heart. And we're going to just anchor into this space of sacred care right now. For me, sacred care is spiritual practice. And of course, I tell everybody that these teachings are the best thing since apple pie. But I want you to know prayer is very, very powerful. It's a sacred tool, one of the best tools that we have. And so as we breathe this morning, we're breathing in that essence of life. We're breathing in and knowing that there is only one, that one power, that one presence, the spirit of perfection. And in that spirit of perfection, there is the energy of that one source, that one power. It is alive. It thrives. And it is fully present right here in this very moment. I know that it breathes itself and it fulfills itself for every single person that is hearing this prayer right here and right now. I know that they are blessed beyond that which they cannot even imagine. And that it is this presence that has gone before and it has prepared the way. That the energy of love has coalesced itself with law. And that this great love affair has created something special. And that special presence is the presence that is alive right here, moving through each and every single person hearing this prayer. I know that there is a great awakening that is taking place right now. And I know that in that great awakening, the presence and power has gone before. It has personalized itself within the hearts, within the minds of each individual, that it emotes itself and it fulfills itself in a practical way. It personalizes itself. And I know that whatever is going on within each individual's life, that the presence of the divine is overflowing. It's pressed down, it's running over and multiply. And I know that good spills over within each individual's experience. And I know that in this spillage, that there is the seed of good. That seed propagates itself. It multiplies itself and it fulfills itself in the world as infinite good, as infinite wisdom, as infinite light. And I know that that light, that wisdom fulfills itself as the joy of living, as the healing presence, as bringing balance and harmony within people's lives, as showing up as infinite good. And so as I speak my word right here, right now, I know that there is a healing that is unfolding. And because I know their healing is taking place right here, I know that the highest and the greatest good unfolds. And I know as a collective community, the perfect spiritual leader has already fulfilled itself, and it's just a matter of time. I know that in this very moment, right here, right now, that loved ones are lifted to the place of the very Most High. I know that in this very moment, that our leaders, our world leaders, our business owners, and everyone that support all of humanity, that they are blessed and only good can unfold within their lives, that they are divinely guided, and the work that they do uplifts humanity, it supports humanity, and it blesses it beyond that which we cannot even imagine. I know that there is only the one, always present, always operating, and I am most grateful for this divine presence. I'm grateful for the good and the light that is expanding right here and right now through each and every one of us. I'm grateful for this unified presence that expresses itself in all of humanity. And so it is in this space. I'm inviting you all to join me by simply saying these sacred words. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Ashe. We know our words have power. And aho. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for our Sunday service. Please remember to like, comment, and share this video on Facebook, YouTube, and any other social media you are a member of. To donate to CSL Beaumont, you can text GIVE to 951-420-6909, or you can visit our website at cslbeaumont.org and click the donate button at the top or bottom of the page. You can also mail your donation to CSL Beaumont, 802 Maple Avenue, Beaumont, California, 92223. Have a blessed day, and namaste.